Everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we are here to recap the NFL divisional round of the playoffs. Now, I'm going to be going top of the dome. I don't have a script, I don't have an order. The only thing that we're going to be doing in order anyway is just basically the order of the games in which they were played. So I don't really have much of an order, I guess you could say. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Like I said, top of the dome, I'm just going to be spitting hot fire, just going to be giving some facts and my opinion on things. So let's just go ahead and get started with the first matchup that actually happened. The 6th-seeded Minnesota Vikings going into San Francisco to take on the 49ers. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. San Francisco looks like the team to beat, and they look like the early Super Bowl favorite. They completely dominated and owned the line of scrimmage against the Minnesota Vikings. And to be honest, that was kind of my biggest fear for the Vikings. That's why I really couldn't pick them. Their defensive line definitely overwhelmed the Vikings' offensive line. But I got to say, over the last 2 years, the Vikings have made that once, real big liability look somewhat serviceable and maybe even a little bit better than that throughout the season. But that's what happens when you run into the most dominant defensive front in the playoffs. Like there's 5 or 4 first rounders on that defensive line. Like, they better be good. All those high draft picks they got. And Minnesota had a hard time with them, as many would predict. Dalvin Cook really didn't do a whole lot in this game, to tell you the truth. They did a good job in neutralizing him and kind of keeping the Minnesota Vikings somewhat one-dimensional. Richard Sherman had an awesome interception, going up against Adam Thielen. It looked like Thielen was giving up on a couple of routes, though. Like, I'm not going to call him out for it or anything, because it's kind of hard to determine if people actually give up on a route or a play or whatever. Like, it's easy to say in the moment, but I'm not going to accuse him of it. Y'all feel free to. But looking now at the offense for San Francisco, it was pretty much easy sailing. Like, they were able to run the ball with some success. In the passing game, Jimmy G wasn't perfect. He was off on a little bit of his throws. And he also threw an interception to Eric Kendricks. I mean, Kendricks read the whole thing. I thought the Vikings defense actually played well during the first half and even midway through the third quarter. But eventually they started to get gassed. They were on the field too much. And even as talented and athletically gifted as the Vikings are defensively compared to most teams, like, that offense that San Francisco has can wear you out. They have guys who excel with the run after the catch. They have guys that can block and perfect the zone run scheme very well. They have offensive linemen that can move and direct traffic for their running backs to get through. You have George Kittle, who's just a freaking beast. And, people, and I already knew this was going to happen, people are starting to draw Gronk comparisons. Like, I knew it was going to happen. Like, I even joked around with my dad when we were watching the game. I'm like, they're going to start comparing him to Gronk, because you're looking at the way he blocks and how great he is as a receiver. The comparisons are out. You know what I mean? And I got to tell you, George Kittle might just be the best tight end in football. Remember, earlier in the year, I brought that up as a potential conversation that needed to be had, and I think he's making a case. But as you will see when we talk about the Chiefs and Travis Kelce, I think we're going to have to hold on that one for a little bit. But the 49ers get the win 27-10. It wasn't close like I predicted. I did predict like a 26-24 type of a game. It didn't really go that way. San Francisco, like we said, took care of business, and they're going to be hosting the NFC Championship. So congratulations to San Francisco. They've had an amazing come up over the last 2 years, from having the number 2 overall pick to hosting an NFC Championship game, and who knows, they probably will win the Super Bowl for all we know. So good for the San Francisco 49ers. Now we're going to talk about the other 1 seed, the Baltimore Ravens. Man, they got upset by the red-hot Tennessee Titans. What was the score? 28-12. I mean, it was very disappointing for Baltimore. This was a team that dominated the regular season, and they definitely accomplished a lot, breaking all sorts of records as a team and even individual players. Lamar Jackson, of course, with the MVP season that he had a pretty underwhelming game. Like, I can't really give him all the blame for what went down in that game. It was kind of similar to what happened with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It was just a case of the young quarterback trying to do too much. And I think people forget that Lamar Jackson is a second-year player after all. Like, I know we criticize quarterbacks a lot. Trust me, like, I'm aware. We all criticize quarterbacks because, let's face it, it's the most important position, in the league. If you have a quarterback that's out, that's like a 5-6 point swing in terms of the, betting odds and stuff. If you lose a running back, it's not moving the needle too much, in terms of the team. But you look at guys like Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, they might have something to say about that, you know what I mean? But Lamar Jackson, he did make playoff history, but it was in defeat. He was the first quarterback to have 300 passing yards and 100 rushing yards. So, actually, if you look at all of his yardage, he did combine for over 500 yards of offense. But me, man, I'm not really a big yards guy. I'm more about the touchdowns. Can you get in the end zone? Can you play turnover-free football? Or at least be safe with the football? He was definitely overwhelmed. It's safe to say he did feel like he had to do too much. And he made some mistakes that he normally doesn't make. Like, he fumbled for the second time all season in that game. The Ravens, who were the best team on converting 4th and 1 or less, this team was the best at converting 4th down in short situations. They went 0 for 4 on 4th down in short yardage situations. Like, this was a worst case scenario game for Baltimore, and this is an example of like the bye week not working in your favor. I mean, I'm not really in the belief of, it's a bad thing to have the bye week. It really just depends on how you treat it going in and how you treat it while on the bye week. I really just think it's a matter of circumstance, not only for you, but for your potential opponent. Because if you look at Tennessee, there is not a team that's hotter right now than Tennessee. Period. They won like 9 out of their last 12 if you include these last 2 playoff wins, and look at who they've had to beat to get to the AFC Championship. They went to New England, in Foxborough, in a place where it's already hard to win, and beat the New England Patriots. And then they go into Baltimore as the 6th seed, nothing to lose, playing with house money, a red-hot football team, and they out-Baltimored the Baltimore Ravens. They ran the ball effectively. They didn't have to throw it a whole lot, and their defense was able to do their thing. Yeah, they gave up the yards, but they're playing the scoreboard, and Tennessee definitely deserves a lot of credit. I know a lot of people are going to blame Lamar Jackson, and people are ready to, come out of the bushes and the basement on, oh, I told you so, you can't win with a running quarterback. Yeah, the running quarterback, carried him to the 1 seed, Yeah, he had a lot of help as well, but hey, that defense gave up over 200 all-purpose yards to Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill had 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So that defense, didn't really do their job like they had been doing all year. Lamar, a little careless at times. It really felt like he tried to do too much. But now he's 0-2 in the playoffs, and he's going to have a little bit of that playoff stank on him. Like, oh, now he, great regular season player, can't do it in the postseason. But if we just judged quarterbacks off of like their first couple of playoff games, then a lot of these quarterbacks wouldn't be good. You look at Peyton Manning, it took him like 6 tries before he won a playoff game. Like, look at his stats in the first few games, playoff games that he's had to play in. He's terrible. He's like 0-3 as a starter in his first 3 playoff games, and I'm pretty sure he has like a ton of interceptions as well. Here, let me actually look at it real quick. Yeah, that's right. Your boy did his homework. Yeah, he's 0-3 as a, in his first 3 playoff games, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Lamar has already done more. He doesn't have a win, but he's already done more than Peyton Manning did in his first few playoff games. You look at, Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was 1-2 as a starter in the playoffs, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So, like, Lamar isn't doing too terrible. You'd like to see him play better in the postseason, and I'm sure he will. But you got to keep in mind, again, he's a second-year player, and he's got a lot of room to grow. And the thing that's really shocking is he's going to win the MVP this year, and he's still got a long ways to go in his development. Like, that just goes to show you how good he already is. And now I guess we could transition to the next game. Uh, Houston, the 4 seed, taking on the 2 seeded Kansas City Chiefs. This was the craziest game of them all, and that's saying something because Tennessee, of course, did upset the Baltimore Ravens. This was the craziest game. What the hell, Houston? We got a problem because you went up 24 to nothing and you lost by 20 points when it was all said and done. The Chiefs ended up winning 51 to 31, and a lot of people are giving the Texans defense a lot of shit. I'm going to point some criticism at Deshaun Watson as well, because if we're going to criticize Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson for trying to do too much and overcompensate, then I'm going to accuse Deshaun Watson and blame him for part of this comeback from Kansas City. You know, when Kansas City was coming back and putting points on the board, you couldn't convert third downs to move the chains. You know, and Bill O'Brien ran a stupid fake punt inside of like y'all's 30-yard line, which caused Kansas City to get the football back. Like, yeah, it was a lot of bad circumstances. You can't put it all on Deshaun Watson, but if we're going to blame these other quarterbacks for doing way too much, then I have to blame Deshaun Watson for not doing much of anything. Because for 3 quarters, damn near, he scored 1 touchdown. After the 10-minute mark in the second quarter, he scored 1 touchdown. I mean, if we're going to blame Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson for all of these turnovers and having just dumb decision-making, I have to blame the other young quarterback for not doing much of anything in the second half. I mean, it's only fair, it's only consistent to go with the argument that people have been making, right? Not to mention, with Lamar's performance, he had basically an interception that ricocheted off his tight end's hands, and there was like 6 or 7 drops by the Baltimore Ravens. And the Chiefs somehow overcame a 24-0 lead, 2 early drops on third down, one by Travis Kelce, a game in which they had, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8 drops in their own. Like, it's been a very weird, bizarre weekend, man, and this game was definitely bizarre, if anything. And Travis Kelce had 3 receiving touchdowns in this game. You know, George Kittle had a good game himself against the Vikings, but man, Travis Kelce dominated this game. It's safe to say, Travis Kelce dominated this game. They tried to put Lonnie Johnson on him, who does have the size and the length to compete and match up with Travis Kelce, but he's also a rookie going up against one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football. So, good luck. You know, advantage Travis Kelce on that one. Just, wow. The Kansas City Chiefs right now, you know, there's an argument out there that you can't trust them. You know, I would say that's a fair assessment because they were down 24-0, you know. It's kind of hard to trust somebody when they're down 24-0 and the Chiefs somehow win, you know, and they win by 20 points. That's the crazy part. But we're going to find out in the AFC Championship, aren't we? Because Tennessee beat Kansas City earlier in the season, but it was in Tennessee, and it took the blocked field goal to avoid the game from going in overtime. We'll see how things look this time around, but you know what? Patrick Mahomes and company, they scored 7 times on 7 straight possessions. 6 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So if Kansas City is capable of playing at this level offensively, it's not going to matter if their defense gives up a couple of drives here or there. And really, if you want to dissect Kansas City's performance on defense, 2 blown assignments led to 2 touchdowns. And then, of course, the blocked punt or whatever that went back for a touchdown. Like, it was just a very weird game. You know, very bizarre. It was exciting. I tell you what, though, I was stressed out for both teams, and I'm not a fan of either one of them. Like, that's how ridiculously this game was. And finally, we're going to conclude with the Seahawks, who were the 5th seed, going into Lambeau Field to face the 2-seeded Packers. We didn't get that snow game. There was like a little bit of a light flurry at the end, but it really happened like the day or 2 days before, and it's probably going to happen today or tomorrow. The snowstorms or whatever. But Green Bay ended up winning 28-23. My score prediction was 27-23. It's about as close as I'm going to get. Colin Cowherd also had the same score line as me, which was very interesting. Colin Cowherd clearly watches my videos. Just kidding. But the Packers won 28-23. The Packers, they stress me out, man. I can't deal with this, man. I can't deal with it. And we're probably going to get blown out by San Francisco next week. I can't deal with this. They stress me the hell out. We were up 21-3, and we almost blew it. Like, straight up. In the first half, and it's really the tale of two halves when you break down this game. You look at Green Bay in the first half, I mean, they could not do no wrong. They couldn't do any wrong. Davante Adams was just having his way, and that's really the theme of the game, is they just could not make adjustments to stop Davante Adams. And Aaron Jones, he had 2 touchdowns. They were both, like 1-yarders. It's not like he dominated the game. It's not like they used him effectively as a receiver in this game either. But we did see some different things from Green Bay. We saw them use Tyler Ervin, their kick returner, on like some wide receiver sweeps and stuff. He's a running back, by the way. I just want to point that out. But they were using him in different ways. They let running backs get a few carries on some sweeps and, motion jet sweeps and all that. And I just thought it was cool. Like, we really haven't seen Green Bay do that in the regular season. And if they did, they probably did it like once or twice against a bad team just to see how it would work. And we get to see them do it here, and it's just like, wow. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, we haven't seen this. But you look at Green Bay, of course, they just pretty much had their way, in the first half. Defensively, they were doing a good job at not really allowing many big plays. Like, the only big play they'd given up was the big Tyler Lockett catch where, like, Kevin King kind of bit on a route, and Tyler Lockett just took it up the field for, like, 30 yards. Like, that was the one big play we had given up. Other than that, the defense was playing pretty good. Marshawn really didn't get a whole lot going. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns, again, similar to Aaron Jones, both within 5 yards. But still, he got in the end zone twice, just like Aaron Jones. You look at the second half, though. I ain't gonna lie, I thought Seattle was just gonna come back and win. I did. Because I've seen this way too many times for Green Bay, and they've gotten off the hook way too many times with the conservative play calling on defense in the second half. Like, I've seen this story before. We've been catching major breaks. But here we are, about to play in the NFC Championship. Russell Wilson gave him hell. With his legs, I mean, he single-handedly marched that team down the field a couple of times, made some big plays. I guess we'll talk about the officiating. Seahawks are trying to play the refs card or whatever, and you have people on social media, like, accusing the Packers of all these different things, such as, like, faking injuries and, like, paying off the refs and blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, man. Really? The Seahawks should be the last team to talk about paying off the refs and shitty officiating. Y'all should be the last team to talk about that. Do you guys not remember the Fail Mary on Monday Night Football all those years ago? Do you not remember the shady officiating in the second half of the 2014 NFC Championship game? Yeah, give me a fucking break. Seriously? I don't want to hear shit about shady officiating. I swear, there used to be a time where you couldn't go in Seattle without a controversial call. So I don't want to hear it. Seriously, keep that for somebody who gives a shit. I don't. Seriously. Chandon Sullivan clearly recovered a fumble. We challenged if there was a fumble and a recovery, and the refs are like, yeah, there was a fumble, but no clear recovery, even though on a second shot, you see Chandon Sullivan come up with the football and hand it to the referee. That's about as clear as a recovery as you're going to get. You handing the ball to a ref after getting out of a pile of traffic. So, like, are you kidding me? Like, Seattle caught several breaks, not to mention, and I know this isn't every football game, so I'm not going to really bitch about it, there were a bunch of missed hold calls too. There were a bunch of missed holding calls. But again, that's in every game. You can nitpick and literally point it out almost on every play. But it was really bad at one point, and especially during the comeback. And the whole, first down marker thing. If you think the yellow line on television is the first down marker, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You can get offended. You can be mad at me. You can delete me. I don't care. You're a fucking idiot if you think that stupid yellow graphic line on your television is the real first down marker. I'm sorry, okay? It was misplaced, a little inaccurate. This is why you don't rely on the production crew and frickin' commentary to judge your football stuff. Seriously. Come on, man. Y'all really think the stupid yellow line is the marker? It's a representation of the marker, but it was slightly off if you look at all the still images, except for the ones that are super zoomed in on Jimmy Graham to make it look like the refs gave us one or something. So yeah, I'm a little irritated with the officiating. I think it's been bad all year, regardless of what games it's been in. Hell, even I owned up to it being bad against the Detroit Lions. It was horrible. But again, it shouldn't be something you complained about. And like with the fumble that Chandon Sullivan clearly recovered, I was heated about it because it would have gave us better field position. But you know what? You don't let little things like that determine how the game's going to go. We got them to 3 and out, got the ball, and scored again. So it was all worth it in the end. Because we did our job. We didn't bitch about it and let it determine how the game went like these salty-ass Seattle Seahawks fans. Like, I'm sorry, no offense. But a lot of y'all really pissed me off, man, for real. Y'all should be the last fan base to talk about officiating. But yeah, guys, all in all, it's been a crazy-ass weekend. That's all I can really say. I did have to shut off the recording on the previous clip, though, because in my area it is storming, and I don't want to take any risk. I heard like a big-ass thump, so I didn't want like the power to go out in the middle of me recording. But it calmed down a little bit. I waited for it to kind of pass. But in all reality, man, it's been a crazy-ass weekend of football, and I'm going to be honest, man, I'm really shocked that my team made it as far as they made it. I had this team as like a 10-6 team that would lose in the divisional round, kind of like they always do, it seems like. But, for my Packers to have a rookie head coach go 13-3 and have like a somewhat of a chance to go to the Super Bowl, I mean, that's amazing. If you'd have told me that around this time of year last year, I probably would have called you crazy. I might have laughed at you, even though I'm a Packer fan too. But I do want to say this, good luck to everybody who's still in the playoffs. So good luck to, the Titans, Chiefs, and even the 49ers, who my team will have the untaunted, or that's not the right word, is it? Even my team, who will have the toughest task of them all to try and beat this team. It's definitely going to be hard. But yeah, good luck to all the teams that are left. If your team is not left, I wouldn't try to shit talk if I were you, if any of these teams were to lose. So if my team does lose next week, I know everyone's going to be talking shit. Just keep in mind your team didn't play at all this week. But anyway, just kidding. But good luck to all the teams that are left. Best of luck. And hopefully we have a great championship weekend. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoy, and peace out.